Hey you, yeah you who clicked on this video. Thanks for giving our channel a shot. And if you will, please do us the honor of watching the video all the way through. Appreciate it. Now onto the video. So, being a kid of the 90s and a baby of the 80s, there are a lot of movies that I watched growing up that were awesome to me. You know, whether we're talking about like silly little movies like Airbud and stuff like that. But as a parent, I wanted to share those with my kids. So, what did I do? Well, I fired up the old streaming device, sat the kids down, only to discover that a lot of these movies that I really enjoyed as a kid are messed up. Oh my god, we watched some messed up stuff as kids growing up in the 90s. And so I thought I'd do a little bit of a series to refresh us 90s kids and to, kind of give a little bit of a crash course on those kids, those Zoomers as they call them. Let them know, what we used to watch when we was kids. So hopefully you'll find this series entertaining and informative. Let's get into it. So the first movie that we are going to cover is a classic, starring Robin Williams, called Mrs. Doubtfire. Now, you might ask, if you've seen this movie, what's messed up about Mrs. Doubtfire? Well, everything. So let's start with at the beginning. So the beginning of Mrs. Doubtfire is actually talks about a man named Daniel Hillard, played by none other than Robin Williams. And Robin Williams in this movie is a voice actor. And he lives in San Francisco with his wife and 3 kids. And here's where the problems kind of ensue. So he has a big misunderstanding, a huge fallout with his bosses, at the show that he works on. Basically, he had an issue with the script that they wanted him to read through doing voice work, and he wasn't cool with it, so he's summarily fired, gets quit, the whole nine. But also happens that his son, his 12-year-old son, Chris, has a birthday. And so, being that it's birthday time, what we're really getting into is that he wants to show his son that he loves him by throwing him in a really extravagant birthday with all the things and all the people and everything. And the wife, she is not happy with that. Now, the wife in this movie, her name is Miranda, and she is played by Sally Field. And she is, spoilers, the villain of this story, believe it or not. And I will tell you how. So, because she kind of views her husband as unreliable, and being that he has quit his job over creative differences, and now this gigantic birthday party is happening, she now feels that everything has come to a head and she is now done, and so it is divorce time. So now that they're going to be divorced, instead of handling this like adults, because they're both adults, they've raised children up until the age of 14 with their oldest daughter Lydia, she decides that they're going to have to do custody battle. So in the custody hearing, essentially because Daniel is unemployed, all the custody is given to the wife, where he has visitation with the provided caveat that he can get a stable job. So he's, working on that, but he really wants to see his kids. He's a devoted father. He loves his children, but the wife's not having it. So what does he do? Well, he does what any sane man would do. Goes to his brother, who's a makeup artist, and actually one of the first gay couples that you will ever see, if you were a kid of the 90s, that you'd ever see in a family movie. And they decide that they're going to make a woman out of him, because he gets the bright idea, because his wife is looking for a housekeeper, to turn himself into that housekeeper so that he can see his wife. So let's pause for a minute and really think about this. A divorced married couple decides that they're going to get a divorce. Well, he didn't really decide that he wanted a divorce. She wanted a divorce, which is how this normally works. And the court system then decides that he is going to not be able to see his children unless it is via visitation, and he has to have a job to do that. So you don't have to have a job to make the kid. You don't have to have a job to be married to the woman. But if you want to see your kids outside of the marriage arrangement, you better have a job, apparently, according to this movie and according to real life. All right, fine, whatever. But then let's really dive deep into this. So now the only way that this man can conceive of seeing his children who he loves is to dress up as a woman. And we wonder where Drag Story Hour came from. Anyway, I digress. So basically a bunch of shenanigans ensue, and he, through becoming Mrs. Doubtfire, becomes a better father, learning all types of domestic skills, but also just he gets to understand it and really know his children better. So this movie conveys a lot of really weird messaging. Number one, that basically that a father will do anything in order to see his children, which I can identify with. But number two is that in these situations, the wife, who's pretty much just as scatterbrained and dysfunctional as the husband, but just so happens to be a woman, gets to dictate all of the interactions post-marriage, which we know to be a thing. Then he has to deal with Pierce Brosnan as Stu Dunmire. Oh my God, this is the unsung hero of this movie, because he has to go through all of this abuse just trying to get to this woman who he wants to be with. And now there's this weird triangle of people in these kids' faces, the father, the mother, and Stu. And it's just a lot going on in this movie, man. And what really makes it messed up is that through going through this, he actually gets a job. Robin Williams' character gets a job at a TV station where he's actually able to cobble together a whole new show using the Mrs. Doubtfire persona. But this movie, like I said, is just really interesting for a lot of different reasons, but mostly because it introduces your children to homosexual relationships, which really isn't that big of a deal, but it was in '93 when this came out. Introduces them to the whole concept of drag shows and being a drag queen. And then it also introduces them to divorce and to the idea that if you're a man, it's very unfair in divorce and you're probably going to have to go through really stupid things, hopefully not cross-dressing, to see your children. So with that being said, if I haven't ruined this movie for you, let me know what you guys' thoughts were of Mrs. Doubtfire in the comment section, and we'll see you on the next one. If y'all like this video, I'll make another one. It'll probably be about another 90s movie, surprise, surprise. That was just really messed up. But we'll see you on the next one, guys. 8-Bit Heroes out. Peace. If you'd like to get a shout out on the channel, then hit that like button, maybe share it with a couple of friends, and do us the biggest honor of all, and subscribe to the channel so you can join the 8-Bit Heroes family. And while you're at it, hit that bell icon so you can be notified when our new videos come out.